Now, the head of Australia's Climate Institute saying that the current stoush over the resource super profit tax may never have come up if the government's emissions trading scheme had been passed by Parliament. The Climate Institute, which has launched a new corporate partnership with the likes of Westpac, KPMG and AGL, saying that Australia is now falling behind emerging countries like China in the renewable energy technology race. Business Channel reporter Kai Chow speaking with Institute CEO John Connor, asking him if he wanted partners like Westpac to take a more prominent role to combat the resource of the mining sector.
Oh, look, I think, it's a mixture. We've seen voices within the coalition and out in the community who raise very big questions about the science and followed that with absolute ferocity and at all costs wanted to stop this. We had a massive multi-million-dollar campaign from big polluters running scare campaigns around jobs and around costs. We had state governments, frankly, blaming electricity price rises on things from the CPRS. But we also, we don't think the government led strongly enough, and other political parties also didn't take leadership enough. So we had a heavy brew of reasons why this didn't work out.
You mentioned the campaign by the Minerals Council, for example. Now, you do have a lot of big corporates behind you now. They don't get much bigger than Westpac. Would you like to see organisations like that taking a more prominent role, for example, in terms of advocacy and publicity? Well,
I mean, we're very excited to have the climate partners that we've got here in the launch of this Climate Partners Network. And amongst all of them, they've got a vast reach of customers and clients, ways and stories that they can tell. And I think we've actually started to see a bit of a muscling up of the low-carbon political economy. You saw Pac Hydro, AGL, who are part of the Climate Partners Network, speaking vigorously around the need for the renewable energy target, the jobs and other impacts. And so it's a mixture of those stories, it's a mixture of the advocacy into government as well that we want to put the magnifying glass on to facilitate that discussion, and also the reality that overseas there is significant climate action and Australia risks being left behind what are multi-trillion-dollar opportunities.
But considering what you're up against, essentially an industry that is seen as single-handedly saving Australia from the world recession, you need to have someone really speaking up against that. You need to have someone of the likes of Westpac being far more prominent.
Well, this is about informing the debate. We'll do that in a variety of ways, and the climate partners do it in a variety of ways themselves and with the work that we'll do. So this is the Climate Partners Network we're hoping to evolve. There have been static examples in the past around a business leaders roundtable, a particular statement or the like, but this is a conversation. This is something which isn't going away. We had the US Academy of Science last week again repeat that the science is absolutely sound and the impacts are happening now. These things aren't going away. These responsibilities can't be delayed, they can't be deferred, they can't be long-term avoided. So we'll see businesses in this partnership speaking up in a variety of ways, and we're looking to encourage that.
There's been a lot of discussion, of course, about the mining sector recently in the context of the proposed resources super profits tax. Are you surprised that during this whole debate there hasn't been any discussion about the environmental impacts, whether they be benefits, for example, of something like slowing down the mining sector this way?
I guess it's a bittersweet irony that perhaps if the CPRS had have got up, then we may not even be in this debate. But I think there are very real issues at stake here. I mean, we have the mining sector is one of the biggest growth of energy users, and their energy efficiency is actually not fantastic. It's actually a question about where the resources that go into infrastructure might come from this resource rent can be applied, and I think there are very important decisions there to be made, and we'd be very keen to see the money that goes into infrastructure funneled through Infrastructure Australia, for example, which has actually had quite a professional and more far-sighted approach to how the infrastructure investments might go. So that's a part of the debate that's happening around the fringes of that, but it's a pretty brutal debate, and unfortunately I think some of the companies involved have become emboldened by the debate in the CPRS and the success that they perceive. It's a very dangerous short-term success, but the success that they perceive they've had in putting the CPRS for a little while.
Has the debate over the tax been damaging for you because it has drawn so much attention to the mining sector and in particular its role in propelling the Australian economy?
Well, I think it puts the responsibility onto other companies and to the media, and to understand that the mining sector, a very important source of foreign revenue, is actually not a massive part of the GDP. It's certainly not it's in single digits in terms of as an employer of Australians, and also. Despite all the fear campaign and the scare campaign they ran at the end of last year, even with significant reduction targets, they are still going to grow. And so it's a very unfortunate byproduct of that debate. But what we really need to do is to get back for people to understand. The broad majority of Australians are actually still concerned about the climate change. They want action. We also need to understand that Australia is going to be left behind. There are very substantial investments going on internationally, and we will be left behind. We just can't dig forever.